Sifuna, I want us to talk about the Haiti deployment before we come into the IBC. We are seeing the president, the court has said that we can't deploy our police officers as it is. The president, speaking in Italy yesterday, said that he only needs a direct communication from the Haiti government. Many people are questioning which government will be requesting for the police officers, and we're going to deploy the police officers anyway. Are we seeing a situation where the government is simply just ignoring court orders, or what is going on?
Yeah, first let me say that the president is not infallible. I remember the story of the king being naked and all the old men around him praising him and saying, oh, you have very beautiful gowns on. And it took a child to tell them, guys, this guy is naked. So this guy is throwing around age as if age is a disadvantage for us, so that, oh, you address your elders with respect. If the elder is naked, you have a responsibility to say, Mzee, you are naked. The president is a human being. He's not infallible. He can tell lies. And I give you a very basic example. The road number C41 that passes outside my rural home is a rough road. There was a contractor that was given the business of doing the road years ago, and it was never done. And I suspect Farah knows that contractor. One day, Ruto stands up and says, that road is now complete. And it passes outside my house. I can look outside my window. I can see the road is not done. What do you call that? They want me to look for euphemisms and say, oh, it's a misdirection. It's a misnomer. It's a... No, you call it for what it is. Number two, the Constitution. You know me, I am living under this Constitution longer than I lived under the Kanu Constitution. And this is the document I always go to for protection. The limitations to the right of expression under Article 33 do not include speaking to elders with respect. If the elder is wrong, you tell the elder that you are naked, you are wrong on this one. On the question of Haiti, Mungatana says we don't participate in debates. I dare Mungatana to print out the Hansard report on debates on critical bills, critical matters before the House, and if he has debated more than me, I'll pay him 100,000 shillings. He hasn't. Because even on the question of Haiti, the deployment of Haiti, the members of parliament from ODM, the members of parliament from the opposition, on the Hansard, told the nation that this was wrong. Because the Constitution, when it speaks about the forces that can be deployed outside, it only talks about the defense forces. The Constitution goes ahead to describe who the defense forces are that can actually be deployed. We as ODM put out a statement on the same and said all previous deployment of forces outside were for the armed forces. We do not have a police force anymore, although they want to recreate it. We have a police service. The Constitution speaks of deployment of the police service within the bounds of Kenya. There is definition of the bounds of Kenya. It constitutes the 47 counties as defined in the schedules to the Constitution. So when we told them, all these things are there, we debate in the House of Parliament. Mungatana and his crew are waiting for put the question. They are there. In fact, he says we ran away from debate. But the ones, if you look at just a minute,
by 3 o'clock we are out.
Trevor, you see the beauty with Parliament. The beauty with Parliament is that our proceedings are broadcast live. Yeah. You have the Hansard for further corroboration if you need. If you see what these guys do, when there is a bill before the House that they know they can't contribute because they will offend their masters, that they can't vote against because they have been given instructions, they all go to the lounge. So at the lounge there, they're just drinking tea and mandazi, waiting for the speaker to put the question.
No.
So
Trevor,
when the question is put,
let's not have this kind of...
They walk away, so they say that you are...
They walk away.
Let me speak.
They walk away.
Mungatana, I allowed you to speak quietly. Just let me speak.
Accusing each other.
Now, when they come, even now, Mungatana cannot guarantee that old man there that if the views of the old man are not incorporated in that bill, as the Constitution requires, that he will vote against that bill. He can't. And he knows it is a fact. So if you say that I do not participate in debates, you have to tender evidence, and I have challenged you. Bring the answer. For the past 1 year, Edwin Sifuna was not named the best senator last year because of keeping quiet or running away from debates. You talk about the amendments you proposed in Turkana. I had more amendments proposed in Turkana than you did. And it was not even the social protection bill. It was the community health promoters bill.
Yes,
and it was the first time And the majority leader, Aaron Cheriot, it was the first time we agreed with him that let people bring amendments and let these amendments be debated and voted on depending on how the people, the senators view it. When we came to a more critical one that is actually before the courts right now, the one on social health insurance fund, they rejected all amendments. For instance, I brought an amendment. All these things are there. There is evidence. I brought an amendment to that bill to protect the people who are currently working for the NHIF, to make it automatic that once you transition to the new regime, people will not lose jobs. And I had a reason, because we are being told on a daily basis that if you're not a shareholder in this government, you have no stake. So they want essentially to throw out the people who are there to bring in shareholders. It is a key concern. Ask Mungatana what he voted, how he voted on that amendment. He voted no because of instructions from the State House. I stayed until the amendments were done. So, Mungatana, please, don't lie to the country because you don't have the evidence to back up your claims. On this Haiti thing, when the president stands up and he says, it doesn't matter what the courts say, I am going to do it. Again, the question I ask myself, what is this thing that Ruto is going to gain from this deployment in Haiti? Because it doesn't make sense to anyone else. It doesn't make sense to ordinary Kenyans. It doesn't make sense certainly to the courts. The courts have declared it an unconstitutional move. Why is he insisting? I cannot think of any other reason other than pecuniary interest. And it will emerge. In the fullness of time, you will see that this deployment was not done in the interest of the people of Kenya or in the interest of the people of Haiti. It is private pecuniary interests, which will emerge later.
Okay, Mungatana.
Can I just say? No.
Go ahead,
you said that I know the contractor. Why do you assume that I know the contractor outside your house?
I just said I suspected.
Why? Why do you suspect?
I have my reasons. I'll tell you when we leave the...
So on record, you don't know the contractor.
I don't know the contractor.
Yeah, just say you don't know him. It's okay.
But you see, you know. Let me tell you. These are the kind of political class we have right now. Presumption is that maybe he's seen a Somali out there, and he says that I know. It's like I will assume that he knows all the lawyers. I know all. It's a bit ridiculous. You have a problem.
Let me come to my point. Trevor, let me say this again, and I want to insist on the question of decorum.
Yeah.
In Kiswahili, for example, even our culture, even the culture...
Which one?
The culture...
The Pokomo?
No.
Which one?
I'm talking about...
He's been bashing the Pokomos.
I'm not bashing.
Now
because we also have our own culture.
He has come to the Somalis again because of a contractor.
Luya culture.
Where we kill bulls that kill people. Which one?
The Luya culture, the Kiswahili culture, the Pokomo culture, in fact, the Bantu culture. There are some things you cannot just mention in public because of respect and restraint.
What if it's the truth?
It does not matter. What do you call in Kiswahili your backside? Why do we say backside and we don't say whatever? Why do we say makalio and we don't say whatever? That is why I'm asking my learned colleague that you don't say lies when you're talking to the public about officials. Even I can't
say misled.
Lies.
Okay.
You should say you are misleading, or your facts are incorrect, or something like that. Something respectful. Right. And this he knows because he's a lawyer.
For liars.
He's a lawyer. So I think
so
sometimes
the Haiti deployment,
when we are talking to the people, let us have that decorum. Okay. So on the Haiti deployment, this debate was there in the House, And I remember very well that debate was heated when it came to Senate. And I remember very well that we were arguing. In fact, there were various instances, and I don't have them here now, but the Hansard will show, where Kenya had deployed.
Police.
In fact, police.
No.
You're right. I'm telling you, Sifuna, I saw it because I debated that point.
Where?
And then,
where did we deploy police?
Because
it is the defense forces.
No. Listen, there was defense force, and then there was examples. In fact, the notes were all, clear when the mover was making his debates, and I just don't have it here. But there were various, in fact, Nani, what's his name, former inspector of police was quoted as saying, we had a bilateral agreement with this other country and we were able to assist them.
You should be able to know that country then.
It
has never happened.
We were able to send our people there to go and help.
But the courts have pronounced themselves. So
no, let me come to that.
Yeah.
You see, when the government went to court to defend, one of the things they said, Section 107 of the Police Act allows deployment when the president has an agreement with that other country. And I saw the president speaking on the sidelines in Italy, and I saw him driving the same point. He said, on the Haiti question, what was required was not to go to the, like as if we are deploying forces. Because when we are deploying forces, we need to go and get permission from both houses, the National Assembly and the Senate. But then when you are deploying police for civilian purposes, not to go and fight or whatever, for civilian purposes, Section 107 allows him to do so when they have a bilateral. So according to the interpretation and the arguments that were there, we were saying the Police Act allows this deployment. And that's why the deployment is okay. And I think those were the arguments that were being made even by the Minister for Internal Security, that there is a provision that allows them when there is a bilateral. And he said that there is a bilateral that exists between Kenya and Haiti, okay? But the courts have ruled differently. You see, Sifuna knows and I know that whatever arguments I present and whatever arguments you present, finally the court makes a finding. And the finding may be against me or may be against him. After that, there is the appeal process. But as we stand now, the way I've understood is that the courts have pronounced themselves that the way I've understood it is that the courts have said that we cannot deploy the police to Haiti as it stands now. But there are still appeal processes, okay? And I don't think it is right to say that the president has disobeyed the court orders, because as we stand now, nobody has gone to Haiti.
He said in the next 2 weeks.
Up to now, nobody has gone to Haiti. And maybe every person who is now speaking, they are banding these words. It's unconstitutional, it's unconstitutional, it's unconstitutional. But nobody has actually gone to Haiti as we are talking now. So I think sometimes we exaggerate things. We exaggerate things, and it's unfortunate because it is the way that our people in the opposition are painting this country consistently in the negative. Like now, if you go to the economics of this country, you will never hear them say that in December, there was overbooking in the coast, showing that people have disposable income. They will never tell you that we had cruise tourism coming over 3,000 in one go. They will never tell you that inflation in the last quarter, November was 6.9%, December was 6.6%. That inflation came down, that food prices came down, that even the petrol came down. They will never tell you, but our country as a whole, is heading in the right direction. In fact, Trevor, I'll tell you something else. When you go to the bank as a person, me, Danson Mungatana, to go to the bank to obtain a loan, the kind of rigorous checkups they make on you, even if right now you have money or you have a bulk cash in your account and you want a loan, they can tell you, although you have cash, we will not give you because you have not passed these processes of ours, okay? But a country like Kenya, when it goes to an international organization like IMF, they are taken even through greater scrutiny. The kind of filings you have to make, the open disclosures that you have to make for you to access those fundings are tremendously high. And Kenya, the other day, we were able to get $684.9 million from IMF. And we had gone through a process. And I'm just looking here, even African Development Bank have said, we are willing to support Kenya. And I'm looking again, I'm seeing Trade and Development Bank. They have said Kenya is able to process. In fact, as you see, because of the Eurobond, we were trying to organize ourselves. Because of that Eurobond, we had gone to ask for a syndicated loan of $1 billion for Kenya. So Trade and the Development Bank willing to give us the money. But then what has the president now said recently? He has said other nations from Africa, smaller than us, have gone to the international bond market, you know, like Cote d'Ivoire. Cote d'Ivoire went there. After 2 years, no other emerging market like in Africa were getting anything in the international markets. Cote d'Ivoire was there, and they got $2.6 billion. And Cote d'Ivoire is a much smaller economy than us. So even now, Kenya, instead of now thinking of going through a syndication process, it might be better to go to the bond market to raise the funds we require. But as we stand, even the IMF MD who was here has clearly said our country has taken the direction on the right turn. Unfortunately, our colleagues in the opposition, their loyalty is not to the state. They are just, every time they speak against the administration. They forget that you can oppose the administration, but ultimately you belong to the state of Kenya. So when you are saying the things you say them, but have a restraint. Have a restraint, because in our country, we are heading in the right direction. So even this Haiti issue, don't stand there and start saying, we disobey court orders. The government doesn't. You know, that one now is going to the state. It's not now opposing the issue. So I'm saying, in a very, short, in a very summarized way, that even as we are carrying opposition, let us not kill the state. You can oppose the administration, but you don't oppose the Republic of Kenya. Our republic is going strong, and it is going in the right direction. We are doing better than we were where we were last year. And please, let them have the courage to also say that we are doing well in other areas.
Farah, are we heading in the right direction the way Mugatana is painting? Well, the Haiti deployment.
I tend to think that we are slowly coming out of the woods. We recklessly borrowed in the previous 10 years, very recklessly borrowed. And literally the coffers were empty when we concluded the elections last time. And the only way to avoid, and even this bond market, I would really discourage about us going into the bond market, because those are punitive, those are some kind of a Shylock. They are not like the ordinary multilateral, or bilateral loans. And like the World Bank and the IMF and the rest of them. But because we're doing very well with the IMF and the World Bank and the African Development Bank, let us maintain our course on the basis of that. And then, of course, in time, because of the problems we had, the demonstrations and the fact that the country was pretty much unstable for a short while, there was a bit of a capital flight out of the country, which I believe now will be, flowing back again. In time, once we arrest this, not a free fall as such, but this fall of the serious, what they call devaluation of the shilling itself. But I think on the overall, we don't have any other country, by the way, Trevor Mbija. And even if you're a politician and you wish the other side the worst, but you can't wish your country the worst.
And you're in the opposition. Mugatana says you don't see the good in the country, but you're...
Well, personally, I have been in the opposition throughout my political life. But I call a spade a spade. I mean, when something is going right now, Sifuna, I have never been very crude and primitive in the manner I address other people. Please desist from doing that to me. Although I'm much older than you, I take offense of that. And you
take all the offense you want to take, but if you are calling us a spade, call a spade a spade.
I'm calling a spade a spade. I'm calling a spade a spade, and I would still hesitate to say anything which I don't think is a good language to you. But please give me some respect.
It's okay.
Give me some respect. I don't
now, Trevor.
Can I just finish?
He hasn't finished.
Oh, okay.
Can I just finish? Yes. So basically...
Saying we are coming out of the woods.
We're coming out of the woods. Yeah. And I'm a businessman in addition to being a politician also.
Yeah.
And I can tell the environment how things are. We were very bad at the beginning. But I think there's a bit of quite a massive backflow again of resources into the country from many, many different sources. So I am optimistic. I'm seriously optimistic. All we need to do is, as much as possible, control graft.
Correct.
Graft. Corruption is what we need to really, really control. Very, very much. Literally have at all levels, at county government levels, at the national government levels, at everywhere. Parastatals, we really need to control that. And if we're able to have those adjustments, we can be proud of this country. People come and go. Politicians will come and go. Leadership will come and go. The maximum the Kenya Kwanza KK will say with us is 10 years. You know what I mean? Nothing more than that, because there's a constitutional restrictions on that. We already had Uhuru for 10 years, and we had Kibaki before that for 10 years. But the point is that the country remains. Yeah. And our children and our grandchildren will remain. So let's look at these things for posterity. And I tend to think that we all need to come together to get out of the mess we got ourselves in after the elections.
On the Haiti deployment?
Haiti deployment, my position is very simple. Yeah. My position has always been the same. The executive has its own rights to do what it wants to do. Okay. They did the deployments for Somalia, and I didn't see any of you, including Sifuna, shouting very hard about it. In 2011, they were all senior lawyers and saying that we're making a mistake going into Somalia.
In fact, they went and trained that police force and established the Somali police force, and then
they went in and we regularized it later.
The army.
Parliament regularized it later.
It was not the army.
You get my point. And I think we did some good job on the neighboring area. We need to do better than that, by far better than that. Okay. I have my issues on that. All right. Haiti, if this executive is convinced that they're doing a good job, so be it. Okay. If it works out and becomes a fiasco, they will suffer the consequences. You know what I mean? That's what politics is about. All right. But you cannot lose an election and pretend to run the government. This is the thing I have always, I've always told people. Yeah. When we lose the elections, take a back seat and tell Kenyans, choices have consequences. You chose this government, you're having the consequences. And then let's see how we can, we arrange ourselves for those 5 years. Okay. You see what I mean? Yeah. We basically come up with a much better, manifestos. But when you keep on arguing with the government on the streets every day, because you were telling them you must run the government according to my wishes, or the people's wishes, the people have already made up their choice and they've thrown you out. Okay. You see what I mean? Yeah. Let the government of the day run the government, the system, and if they do very poorly, the right of recall is going to bite them.
In 5 years. Yes. Okay.
Anybody in 2024 who tells you that the executive, that the president has powers to do what they want, that is somebody who's living in 1975. And that is the problem we have. Those of us who ascribe to this oath, and they are saying, oh, members of the opposition don't see anything good. The oaths that we took are specified here under the 3rd schedule. And I take oaths very seriously. I'm sure the Pocomo do as well. Oh, we do. This oath that I took says, I will bear true faith and allegiance to the people and Republic of Kenya. There's a reason why you start with the people. I will never, ever deviate from bearing true faith and allegiance to the people of Kenya at it to please someone, so that I look like a respectable young boy who addresses grown-ups with respect. I will never abandon this oath because I took it knowing what I was reading. Mungatana, you say that we never say anything positive about your regime. It's because you don't do anything good. Name one thing that you have done that is good, that has impacted positively on the people of Kenya, that has been done lawfully in accordance with the Constitution. Yes. Even these things, let me finish. You will respond later. You will respond later. This is what makes me disrespectful, because you have no respect for me. Allow me to speak. No, you have. Mungatana, you have said all hotels in the coast were overbooked during Christmas period. Those were not Kenyans. The overbooking is because of a policy that I support, of the open skies, because I never understood why we needed to protect KQ, for instance, in our routes like Mombasa. Because of that, and you can speak to the people in the industry themselves, they are telling you that that is the reason why we have seen overbookings. The people that are coming in on those cruise ships are not from Garsen. No, they are not. people in Kenya, the people of Kenya did not have a Christmas. They did not have a Christmas because 2023 was one of the worst years in history.
But let me and
I'm telling you, I don't understand. I don't understand. You see, unless we serve different populations in this country, because the feedback we receive from the people I represent myself is not a rosy picture. None of the people who called me over Christmas have told me that they enjoyed this is their best Christmas, that they took their children to holiday in Mombasa, that now all their children are in school. No. If you go to my office, Trevor, 99% of my engagement with the people is people looking for bursaries, for money from me to take children to school. Nobody had a Christmas. If you see overbookings, it's because of those foreigners who are coming in because of the open skies policy that I support. Now, number two, when you say that nobody has been taken to Haiti, so all of us should keep quiet. I have said on this show that if you occupy any position, your words mean something. You cannot be a head of state who says you will disobey a court order. Whether they have gone or not, your pronouncement, the fact that you are threatening a violation of the constitution you swore to protect is a call for concern. That is why, if you look at the Article 23, you are allowed to go to court, even when something has not happened, but there is a threat. The word is there under Article 23. So the president threatening to disobey a court order, and I saw a very unfortunate scene in December. I think it was early January, when senators, my colleagues in the House, are urging the president, you do what you want. They're speaking the language of Farah Maalim. Young people, people my age, younger than me, speaking like Farah, saying, oh, you do what you want, nobody will take you anywhere. We have seen other presidents disobeying court orders, and nothing has happened to them. There is a road that you have the videos there. There are senators who are younger than me. So that age is not a matter. If your head is bad, you could be 90 years old, you could be 10 years old, but you have the same vision because you do not live in the current circumstances as the Constitution dictates. So it is something that is very terrible. It is to be condemned. Those pronouncements should not be coming from a head of state. I had reservations about this so-called dialogue with, between the judiciary and the executive. There can never be a dialogue between the hyena and the sheep. One of those animals is going to lose out in that particular engagement. And I said it, and I told the Chief Justice, for you to go into the lair of the lion as a lamb and then tell us that, oh, you are negotiating as equal arms of government, what are you negotiating? We saw what the judiciary got out. They got out money to employ judges, they got out money to build courts and buy vehicles. What did they give in return? It is hardly 2 weeks later, the same person you are having this high tea with is telling you that what you're doing there is rubbish. I had suggested to her that there's only one way to deal with this executive dictatorship. Tell these characters that for as long as you are not going to respect the decisions of the courts are not going to be open for you. Because as a judge, somebody who's giving their all, listening to cases, somebody has brought a case challenging a legislation that has been passed into law, that has been assented into law by the president. And you know for a fact, you as a judge, immediately you pass your decision. If the decision is right according to the facts and the law, you will be called corrupt. Immediately. They say these judges are corrupt. When you ask them for evidence, another one told us on Thursday he's going to lead a delegation to bring evidence against a specific judge. And on the day itself, he dodged, he ran away. Because he doesn't have evidence, he just speaks. So we have said, Chief Justice, if she is unable to defend the Constitution and the courts and the institution of the judiciary, let her step aside. We will do that defending. Because for us, we cannot afford to have a judiciary that is emasculated by the executive. Because the next thing that will happen, I don't know because I was not there, they need to make public what commitments were made on both sides. Because I don't know, because I can speculate because it is secret. Maybe they said the next time any opposition leader is brought before you, first of all, if it's Sifuna, deny him bail. Let him stay a few weeks in jail. I don't know, because they need to make it public.
All right.
Because there cannot be an agreement. Yeah. There cannot be agreement between sheep and hyenas. It can't happen.
Let me talk.
Yes.
First of all, on the Haiti deployment, Sifuna has stated here that police have never come out of Kenya. And I was just trying to remember, but Honorable Farah Maalim pointed out. Somalia, we went and trained the police there. Kenya has taken the people of the police force out to go and train and make stabilize their police force and allow it to function properly. We have been involved also in the police reforms in South Sudan, okay? So we have done this for our neighbors. Okay. And by the way, for information, the East African community has a very nice way of coordinating police engagements. And it is not true that we don't take our people. We take our people. When we were doing the Shakahola thing, we went to the National Forensic Lab, and they told us, from time to time, we go to train and to make sure, because we have the capacity as Kenya. So we go out and train other neighbors and even from far-off countries. They said our forensic lab is only comparable to the one in South Africa, okay? And they were raising issues that how we need to deal so that we make it even better. So it is just not true that this country has never taken out police outside. And you know, this is what I keep saying. You know, let us oppose the administration, but don't be so untruthful, so angry against even the nation itself called Kenya. He has challenged...
Is Haiti a training?
No.
Are they going for a training?
Of course, they are going to
it's not a training.
They are building capacity, Nane Sifuna. Allow me, by the way, to finish what I'm saying. They are building capacity.
Of who? And, Haiti has no police force.
No, let me...
They are bringing in police force from other countries. No, they have no police force.
They are building capacity. That country needs help more than any other country.
Whose capacity? Whose capacity are they building?
Of the people to protect themselves.
Aye.
So they will start from scratch. They will start from scratch.
Okomo Elder, you are lying. You are lying, Omwami.
Omwami,
you are lying.
You are misbehaving. You are misbehaving. You are misbehaving. You cannot call it.
You are lying. You are lying, Omwami. You are lying on national TV. It's not a training.
They are going to increase capacity
of the citizens
in Haiti. Okay. Now, let me move. Sifuna has challenged that. What is it that this country has done that is good?
Not the country, Ruto.
Ruto as an administration. Yes. What has he done? Let me tell my friend here that he probably doesn't live in this country, or their mind is so against the administration, they can't see the good of the Republic of Kenya. And this is what I keep telling them. Yeah. You see, the digital economy, for example, was dead before this administration took over.
Then you introduced a tax.
Now, the digital economy is flourishing. There are many young people employed there. The government of Kenya has had a lot of engagements with countries that are employing people who are within. In fact, Sifuna, if you remember, we actually adjusted the law so that we can allow our country to get our people, because the labor laws were a bit tough on how people can work even when they are located here. The blue economy, Mr. Sifuna, I don't know if you live in this country, but I can tell you the blue economy has made a huge difference for us who are living in the coast. Our children are now getting gear for fishing, you know, gear for doing very serious economic activities that were never there. And as a result, there's increased employment amongst our people. There's training of people using the blue economy funds that are headed by Honorable Mbuvuria. And our people are now being able to go as seafarers and get employment in vessels that are outside Kenya with proper papers. So the blue economy is a big issue. And I want to tell my friend that mining economy had been forgotten in previous regime, and they never talk about it. It was not even there in their manifesto. We have revived it. People are getting now good terms for us to put, in fact, even Tana River County, for example, we have the mapping, because the government has now invested in mapping of where minerals are found, and we have found that some of the things that make this mobile phone, coltan, is found in Tana River County, and now we have investors moving in, and we are going to start changing these things. I want to let me finish. You know, when when you are challenged, it is good for you for us to say where we are. You know, there are some countries, and I don't want to mention them, that went off. They could not service their debt obligation. Okay? Eurobond, and in fact, some of our neighbors, but I don't want to mention them. Eurobond that was borrowed
the public domain
in previous administration, the 2 billion Eurobond
is paid now.
Kenya In December 2023, Treasury came out and said, we are going to pay the interest, which was 10.8 billion, and we paid. And investor confidence returned. These international rating agencies like Moody's, they started putting Kenya in the right place.
In the right rating.
In the right ratings. And when you look at IMF itself, they were able now to disburse the funding that was being held because we were meeting our obligation. This administration saved the Republic from going under. Yeah. We were going to go in a way that has never been. If we are complaining about a bad economy, this country by now, we would have been off. Okay. We made a deal that helped us at the time when we had a dollar scarcity in this country. Every month, there was a requirement for $500 million for us to import our fuel. We made a deal that allowed a 180 days.
But the G2G deal was
I know, but 180 days safety that allowed stabilization. Because, you know, it is possible. And Trevor, I'm telling you, it is possible for you to wake up in the morning and your shilling is completely devalued. And whatever you have saved is now nothing. But because of this G2G, we were able to control. Although the argument is that still there is a fall of the shilling. That fall is gradual.
Was cancelled.
That fall is gradual, and it is not giving an economic shock to the economy that would have happened. But if that deal
was working, it wouldn't have happened.
You did not promise a gradual fall. You said you will stop.
Let me say this, Trevor, and I want to say this. You know, some people here don't even know what is happening in this country. But I will tell you, there was an expansion of 30% in terms of the financial services sector by the end of December. That the CBK figures will tell you that the borrowing, that is the domestic borrowing, okay, increased, the banks increased, which tells you banks don't give money for people to go and have leisure. People are investing. Go to the BRS, the Business Premises Registrar here in Nairobi. They will tell you, as compared to last year, 4,006 new business names were registered. People don't register businesses because they are going to enjoy themselves. There are indications, Trevor, and this must be said to this nation, because unfortunately, this country is always putting the people who are saying the negative things ahead, and the people who are saying the truth, they never quote the CBK figures. They never quote the Kenya National Bureau of Standards figures. They just come in funerals and they talk negative against this country. I want to say that those monies, and I'm sure all of us who are seated here, the three of us, we have taken loans and we have invested. This country is moving somewhere.
All right,
and we have made a turn.
It will be a disservice towards read some feedback and we really
we have made a turn towards the positive. That's what I'm trying to say.
Let's see what the people are saying. I'll give you a chance, just 1 minute to close because we've run out of time completely. But let's see what the people are saying. We are here because of them. They've said quite a lot. Let's squeeze in some of the feedback and hear what the people are saying. And Godi Baraza say KK administration should resolutely see that the key and urgent need for Kenyans at the moment is not housing, but the low cost of living, critical among them being affordability of food items. This must be clearly understood, Tyson says Mungatana should answer the question asked by Selassie recently. How do you privately own a house built on public land? What if the next regime reclaims the land? What protection do Kenyans have? Sir Nixon says a leader who belittles the law of the land will simply burn the nation. Respect for the rule of law is about belief in the capacity of that law to dispense justice, fairness, and equality for all. Gadua says this new narrative that we, the citizens, should wait for our mandate only in the general election and decide whether the government has worked or not is devious. We will censure on top of your cars and whenever we have a chance. Luna says Mungatana is throwing words without reflecting. Mama Mbogas in his backyard can't afford the so-called affordable houses. His folks require food rations and are not endowed enough. How many Mama Mbogas will afford from his area? Samuel Wood says, seems Honorable Raila has never heard of a phrase saying you can't be doing the same thing in the same way and expect different results. Those who were wise enough like Musalia and Wetangula changed the formula and the results were different. Remy Butia says the president has pronounced himself on the housing levy, that the government is ready to align the policies as directed by the court. Anchoring of the housing levy fund on a legal framework will guarantee the sustainability of the project. Fokango says, Farah is rewriting Constitution of Kenya 2010 on the show. We remind him that every person has the right to institute court proceedings, claiming that the Constitution is threatened with contravention. Most of KK policies are a threat to the Constitution. Okay? Peter says, let the executive inculcate the views of many Kenyans in decisions making. The house levy, as it stands, is null and void. Therefore, the government must obey the court orders. Sawe says the Kenya Kwanza administration should prioritize upholding the law they swore to protect rather than imposing non-priority issues on Kenyans. What if hustlers choose to disregard the rule of law? The result could render the country ungovernable. You don't leave a name there, but you say Kenya is suffering from a leadership gap. Honorable Sifuna should teach the so-called young leaders to know that you cannot own a house on government land. The affordable housing is too expensive for common mwananchi. It must be stopped. Honorable Farah, 1 minute, because we promised you to give you time. Just 1 minute closing.
To begin with, I just want to correct one thing.
Yeah.
People who come on cruise ships in Mombasa don't go and book themselves in hotels. The cruise ships themselves are hotels. They go out into the town.
They are at a port.
Just a moment. They go out into the town, they spend in the town, they see everything, and they go back to the cruise ship. Because that's where they have their rooms. Now, that's one thing. So many Kenyans were in the coast last time, and everywhere was fully booked.
Correct.
As a matter of fact. It's good sometimes for us. Personally, on the personal level, I am doing more projects in my constituency this year and late last year than ever done for the 60 years before then.
But yet your fellow members say NGCDF is not coming, or are you talking on personal capacity?
NGCDF and a number of other projects, other programs that are there. Many other programs that are there. For the first time, we are looking straight into a possibility of being like the rest of the Kenyans. We're waiting for tarmac roads that are coming to our areas. We've got so many, what do you call, feeder roads that are going to be done. We have boreholes that are too many. We're doing everything. And we've never done this for the last 60+ years. Now, in a sense, I can tell you, every time you come up, because I read history a lot. Every time a new thing comes up that is fundamental and revolutionary, there's a lot of resistance. It happened with Franklin Delano Roosevelt's the New Deal, you get my point. And everything that time, when Hitler was putting up all those roads in Germany, by the way, the roads that were put up by Hitler are the ones that are still existing. The best, the autobahns, the best infrastructure. Mussolini did the same thing also in Italy. In Italy, all those things. So sometimes you need a strong leader who will say, forthright, we're going to do these things, and we don't want to have any. I see a lot of mischief in what other institutions or other arms of government are doing to try and stop these projects. I have a feeling that if we allow these projects and allow a lot of activity and unite the country, we'll get out of this. By the way, for the first time in a very long time, many Kenyans have traveled out of the country from every constituency, to Canada, to the US, to everywhere. I think as people who are going there to go and work.
All right, 1 minute.
Yeah, Trevor, when you hear leaders who are talking about Mama Mboga and border people and lifting from the bottom to the top, suddenly now they have found an enthusiasm for reports from the CBK, Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, the IMF, Moody's. You know that these are people who have lost their way. Mama Mboga is not interested in the Moody's rating or the IMF. You told them that they would be an integral part of this government. In fact, I've come to accept that William Ruto only tells the truth when he's speaking to the IMF. Those are the people he only tells the truth. And he told them the truth about the G2G deal that he's now praising here, that it has failed. He said it himself in his reporting to the IMF. Now, the people of Kenya, the ones I swore, again, to bear true faith, want to hear about food, affordable, the cost of housing. That's what the cost of living. They want to hear about jobs. They want to be told how are they going to be able to take their children to school. Once you deal with these bread and butter issues for the people, now you can tell us about what Moody's and Fitch think about us, or the walls that Trump built in the US. Those things Kenyans don't care about. Go back to your own manifesto. Read the things that you promised people. Go back to the things you were telling people would do, because those are the reasons you were elected to to power. If you indeed you are elected. That is the reason that took you to power. Not these other stories you are telling us now about the CBK, CGE, which reports. You want Mamambogas to read reports from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics.
No, I want to say
1 minute.
The opposition has the luxury of banding words, saying things, being even irresponsible in the way they talk, because they were even encouraging Kenyans, you know, the administration, to continue with subsidies, knowing very well that it would send the country bankrupt, you know. So we have the responsibility to run the government. In fact, I want to say our nation is taking the turn on the correct turn.
Okay.
Because once we have the macro correct, the micro will come. The macroeconomics, if they are fine, the micro will come. And I want to say this. Kuna an announcement, a very important announcement that these people are also not talking about. We have 630 billion pending bills as a government. That was accumulated in the past regime, which was, as you said, as we all agree, had indiscriminate policy of borrowing and not paying even our suppliers. But Chris Kipto, our Treasury Secretary, has said, in the mini budget that is coming in March, you know, we shall do the supplementary and we shall pay Kenyans. And this will increase liquidity. And I'm telling you, things are happening in the correct direction. And we should stop listening to the doom and doomsayers who go to funerals and tell us that they are opposition and they have no ideas of how to run this.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for making time. Coming up next is now cooking tips. And thank you all for watching the State of the Nation. We'll see you soon.